Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beating the Press. My name's Ty. We've got Chris with us as well, and we've got a special guest in Lewis with us as well, who is a Man United fan. With me saying that, I think you can guess what today's episode is going to be on. But before we crack on with the episode, as always, we say if you've decided to sort of watch us, listen to us, and you've accidentally clicked onto us, football's your kind of thing, please like, subscribe, share that stuff with your family just to give us a bit more exposure and hopefully let the channel grow as well. Anyway, moving on to today's podcast. It is a special one because it's one that's been wrangling on for a while. For the regular viewers and listeners, you probably remember Lewis said, please invite me back on when someone gets sacked, and that someone has been sacked. So we've made some fast arrangements to get this podcast on the go. So you've guessed it, today's podcast, obviously Ole's finally left Man United. He's no longer at the wheel. With that being said, I'm going to pass over to Chris. So we've got some sort of structure because there's so much to talk about. So over to you, Chris, kick us off.
Yeah, you're going to see me a little bit flatter there. I'm a little bit devastated, if I'm honest. Absolutely gutted. It's a sad day if you are not a Man United fan, like whether you're a Liverpool fan or you're a City fan or just any Premier League fan. He just gave us some great moments, but unfortunately, Watford went and screwed it up for everyone. I was watching that game yesterday, and it got to 2-1. I'm thinking, you might be in trouble here as soon as that third and that fourth one went in. My God, I was like, you've done it. You've actually nailed him to the wall now. I was so gutted. But yeah, it's been coming for quite a while. We actually had you on 5 weeks ago. I was looking at it and I can't believe that it's only been 5 weeks. It seems like so much has happened in that time, where he's just managed to get away with it, whether it be like an international break popping up or he managed to use one of his 20p's as we put it in the last one. But I just can't believe that it's took this long, and I'm absolutely devastated it's over. I am not being this gutted since Rafa Benitez got sacked for Liverpool. That was the last manager I was this gutted about being sacked. But anyway, enough about the trials and tribulations of a Liverpool fan. I'm going to pass you over to the Man United fan, and I'm going to ask you first and foremost just your initial reaction on it, man.
Yeah, like you said, when it got to 3-1 and 4-1, I just felt like it were inevitable.
It had to be.
Yeah, well, one of them, like at 2-1, I mean, my team played yesterday, so I didn't get to watch the 3 o'clock kickoff roll like that. We got in was it half time or full time? And we were 2-0 down at that point. And I was just thinking, it's got to have gone here. And it comes to 1, and it was a case of, don't tell me somebody's going to pull it out of the bag. Ronaldo's going to save his job for him again. But then at 3-1 and then 4-1, it was just like, there's no way you could carry on with him in that position. It just be, do you know what I mean? What's the word? It'd be so toxic. And I think you saw right at the end, like he got booed in. I don't know if you saw the clips of that where Bruno Fernandes trying to have his back saying, look, boo the players, don't boo the manager. And I think it's got to that stage now where, he's been a great servant for the club. I actually think the overall job that he's done as a manager is in helping us rebuild. He's left the club in a much better shape and much better attitude than when he first took over. And I think there's massive pluses, but it's just a shame that the club has been that inept in how it's run, and now they've managed it from the top down. That's had to get to this moment where it's turned a bit toxic just to get him out. Yeah, and it's sad, but like you said, Watford was if you look at the past 4 games, I think it was the Liverpool mauling, which a lot of people could see coming because we'd have. I think it was the Villarreal game. There was a Champions League game where we just got away with it, and Paul Scholes famously said, look, if you play like that against Liverpool, you get put to the sword, and that's what happened. And then we had the Spurs game, and the Spurs were in a bigger shambles than us, and thankfully we got the result, and it did paper over the cracks, but it just gave him a tiny bit of breathing space, and then we got dominated by Man City, and then it was like, Jesus Christ. And then it looked like there was an international break, and then we'd have Watford, and it was a case of, we should beat Watford. Will that give him a game or 2? And then after that result yesterday, it's just untenable. No chance he could carry on.
I mean, it just felt to me, looking in, obviously, the Liverpool game we were watching, and we joked about it, didn't we? We said we don't mind Man United winning just as long as it keeps Solskjaer in a job. And that's how much every single Premier League fan wanted Man United to get a result, just to keep them in a job. So they were kind of cheering Ronaldo's last-minute goals, winners, whatever they might have been. I'm just going to ask you a question. You mentioned how the club is run. I heard something today on Five Live. I can't remember where I was going, but anyway, that's irrelevant. Mark Ogden was on it, and I thought he made a brilliant point. He said the club is run. So you've got Ed Woodward, who's a banker. Yeah. That's what he's about. And you've got the next guy, below him, I can't remember what his name was, but he was a banker as well. The senior sort of executive positions are all run by people that have worked in the finance world. Now it's
non-football people. That's the term.
Exactly. Yeah. So you've got to go quite a bit until you find Aaron Fletcher. So he's the sort of highest ranking person when it comes to football who knows anything about the game. So those finance people, obviously, I mean, I've never worked in the industry. I've got nothing about it, but I'd imagine money and numbers and seeing green is a massive part of that. Solskjaer has kept them there, and they've been making loads of money, and everything's been great. Now it's come to a point where they couldn't announce a sacking because they had to inform the New York Stock Exchange before they did that, because that's how big Man United are. They're not a football club; they're a business. They're massive, one of the biggest businesses in the world. So the whole structure of how it's set up, it's money, money, money. And then somewhere down there, you'll see the importance of a football man coming in. Now, normal football people can say, I'm not including Rio Ferdinand that, because he was a massive cheerleader for Solskjaer, which was fine. I think you've got people that actually understood the game and looked at it through a clinical lens, and they saw the issues that were going on. Now, the people at the top thought, we can get away with this. And like you were saying, Chris, you'd have a result, you'd have an international break every time something saved him. But I think for the club to lose to Watford is shit. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Watford are fucking shit. And for them to lose 4-1 to them, I think that was just the final nail in the coffin, and that's what it got to. So I know Ed Woodward's leaving soon as well. And it's just a mess. I feel like it needs to be sorted from the top, because you don't have any clear identity. There's nothing going through from the top. There's a disengagement between the people in place, the people in power, the people that have the money, and the football people. It's almost like you guys keep doing what you need to do just to keep us, the shareholders, and the people that be happy. But the rest of it, I just think it's not right. I'm not talking about football. This is the other stuff. So yeah, I don't know. What thoughts on that, Lewis?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And what's sort of moving on, like past this point now where Solskjaer's gone and then somebody else has to come in. The thing that really worries me now is, you've mentioned Mark Ogden, who's obviously a Man United sort of journalist. There's also a guy called Samuel Luckhurst. Now, you're probably not familiar with him. But apparently what the short-term plan is Michael Carrick will take charge for the next 2 games, which is totally understandable, because I think the long-term plan was, or the immediate plan was, not to get rid of Solskjaer, but then obviously after the recent results, it was, they had no choice. So now the question is, who do we bring in? So now apparently Michael Carrick's going to take charge for 2 games, the Villarreal game, and then I've got Chelsea next weekend. We've got another tough game, I know that, which is fair enough. And then the murmurings are Darren Fletcher's going to take it, because we need to look for an interim. I think it's a case now as well where we don't have any managers necessarily available. Maybe Zidane. I feel like he doesn't want to come. I could be wrong. That's what I hear from people who's fairly reasonable sources.
I agree with you.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I agree with you. He's the only one that's available at the minute that could come in. He could work the rest of the season with the squad and then kind of get a bit of a head start rather than coming in the summer. I think if he wanted to come, he would have come. Yeah, sorry, go on, mate.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So the situation you got now is you got to think the season is relatively early. Yeah. And with the money we've invested in the summer and the players and the teams that we've got, we can't just throw the towel in now. We can't just say, right, we need to get somebody as a stopgap. But it's a case of who's available, who can you bring in? And ironically, going off recent history, the perfect interim would be Solskjaer. A Solskjaer who's just coming to the job. But then then obviously, hopefully, we wouldn't give him it long term, and then we could reset and have a look in summer and whatnot. So the worrying thing is now, like, there's murmurings of Darren Fletcher and Michael Carrick, and Samuel Luckhurst. He's been talking Michael Carrick up about, he's really respected, he's a good British coach and all this stuff. And it's just like, he was on the backbenches with Solskjaer.
Yeah.
So if like I used to talk about Arteta and Guardiola, and Guardiola's admitted he's got like a lot of influence on how they're set up. if Michael Carrick is so good, he should have an influence on on Solskjaer's plans and tactics. And if that's the case, and we've been playing so bad, Michael Carrick's just taking over now, which I'm happy Solskjaer's got being moved on, or it's been, I mean, he's been sacked, but they're trying to label it as a mutual agreement just out of respect to him, which I totally understand. But for then, if Michael Carrick's the man to take us on till the end of the season, it's like, how are we going to improve?
Do you know, do you know my take on it is, and I think this just shows, going back to the long-term planning of Man United, you've got rid of Solskjaer. Normally you'd sack a manager and the whole backroom staff would go, and nothing's changed for me. Solskjaer goes, you've got Carrick coming and Fletcher. It's still the same. You've still got Kieran McKenna there. You've still got Terry Field. It's the same people. They're going to have the same idea. There's not fresh voices there. Now, what I could see happening is Carrick take over a Fletcher, and they can have a good 5-6 games. Fans will be like brilliant, and they'll get the job till the end of the season. It's going to be exactly the same thing that happens to Solskjaer. If they have a decent, you always get that new manager, upturn, don't you? You could get to February, they're doing all right. Or let's give them a 2-year contract, and you can see the same cycle again. There's that lack of clear, concise forward planning. Now, me as a Liverpool fan, I would love for that to happen, because they can be British managers and, have all the respect. They're not great. If they were any good, they'd be actually managing somewhere else. You can't go, as much as, we're rivals, you can't go as your first big managerial job to become Man United manager. You can't. You've got to earn the right. Like, Gerrard can't come straight from Liverpool after. He's got to do Rangers, Villa, and then whatever else. Then he's got to come to Liverpool to become, Man United are one of the biggest clubs. To be a Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Man United, you've got to be the elite. Guy Neville keeps banging on about best in class. Fletcher and Carrick are not best in class. I mean, what have they done? I mean, you're scraping the barrel. So it's it's trying to keep it. For me, I think Man United are where Liverpool were sort of in the 90s, where we used to live in that sort of old boot room world where let's keep managers and players from the same. Let's keep everyone happy. It's the same. Let's keep players that have got some sort of link to Fergie. And it doesn't work. I mean, it's got to be cutthroat, right? For Solskjaer, you've gone. Get a new manager and go with, if it's Zidane available, if not, if you want to go for a top manager that's managing a club, go work out the compensation and get him in. You know what I mean? I don't understand this pussyfooting about interim manager. I mean, results and fans are stupid. So going with this whole thing about fans will, when Solskjaer started and he had about 3 or 4 really good months, the fans were buzzing. Fans are happy with this new appointment. I always say fans are stupid. They don't get the game. Do you know what I mean? So the very short term, you can have a good few games and suddenly, you're brilliant. So I think that bit of thinking long term and the whole, Ed Woodward's leaving soon as well. I just think you're going to have another year of not knowing what's going on. It needs to be a clean cut, because your interim manager is going to have the same. It's going to be the same voices and the same backroom voice, because they'll be in the training ground and be the same stuff. You need to cut it off and start again.
Yeah. You were saying you pretty much nailed exactly what I was going to say next. I hope it was going to be a case of, Carrick will take over or Fletcher will take over and they'll do a great job for a few games. Because like Solskjaer won 19 out of his first 24 games. Now, that by any standard, like, incredible. So he got the job off the back of that. But it's rare that you get caretaker managers that come in and it works out. Obviously, it doesn't matter even how good they are. You think of Lampard, for example, he was a Chelsea legend, came in, started off well, and then all of a sudden it went to shit. And we've seen what Tuchel was able to do with that squad. If you look back at Liverpool, you mentioned the boot room. More recently, we had Kenny Dalglish, our biggest legend. He came in, he won us a couple of cups, but in reality, it didn't work out and he ended up leaving. So for a club of Manchester United's size, they've got to make this decision, right? Because next year will be 10 years since they won a title. And it's going to be absolutely massive decision, whoever they make. But the worrying thing, like you guys just said there, are the current owners capable of making the right decision? I personally don't think they are, and I don't think there's a top quality dearth of managers available at the moment that could manage Man United. Just want your thoughts on. I know you said Pochettino last time.
Yeah.
Who are you thinking this time? Is it still Pochettino, or is it is it Dan Rodgers? Do you have a list?
Yeah, I do have a list. Sorry, just to go back, I'll definitely answer the question, but just to answer a few points that you both mentioned. I mean, this conversation could take a good hour, but like you mentioned, Carrick, you could see a good manager bounce with Carrick. But that usually only happens when somebody's coming from the outside to the inside. Like, I can't imagine Carrick's already there. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to be another day at the office, but it's just not. It's Solskjaer isn't the one who's going to be given like the direction and the plan. It's going to be Carrick, but Carrick was already there, so I can't even imagine there's going to be a manager bounce. Now it's one of them, like, you know, where you're in a situation where you want it to happen, don't you? You want it to happen, you give it to Carrick naively, but you're exactly right. You're on the money about there's no direction now. I remember when we got rid of Mourinho, and I went on Facebook and I was emotional, but I did like a 10-point plan on how Man United had to get, like, what they had to do in order to get back to the top. And the first thing was, forget the manager. The manager's not important in the grand scheme. Well, he is, but initially where we was at under Mourinho, it was to get a director of football or a sports director, somebody who's going to put us in this direction, right? We need this. Because what happens is you don't have that. So you go from Mourinho to Solskjaer. Solskjaer comes in. And because you don't have this plan, this 5-year plan, 10-year plan, Solskjaer comes in when he's 19 out of 24 as interim. And instead of even just waiting until the end of the season, because we tailed off, but you remember the wheels come off a little bit at the back of the season, they jumped the gun and give him the job. Now, Solskjaer was never on your list of, or never on Man United's list of managers to get. They want the Pochettino, they probably want the Thomas Tuchel at the time. But because he's done well, they've just reacted. Man United is so reactionary. There's no long-term plan. Yeah. And it's worrying because Solskjaer's gone now, but we could be having the same conversation this time next year or this time in 2 years' time because we haven't got the right guy because there's no long-term plan. Now, like I said, you could have a long-term plan, bring in a manager. That manager might not work. But when the next manager comes in, you don't have to rip everything out and start again. Simple as that. Like, you have a direction, you know how your teams want to play. You're saying, right, I'm going to get this manager that fits this style. So you look at Klopp now. If Klopp, the job Klopp has done, like even looking at I watched the Arsenal game yesterday. Amazing. Just like the level of quality there was unreal. But if Klopp leaves, Liverpool, I am fairly sure, whether it's Gerrard, whether it's a different type, another manager, that manager will be in a slightly similar mode. Meaning he doesn't have to come in and think, right, we're not going to play with high fullbacks now. Do you know what I mean? You're going to just carry on the way it's gone. And he set the foundations Klopp there, and Man United is just nowhere near that. And we just, like you said, Gary Neville always talks about high quality managers. We've tried Van Gaal, we've tried Mourinho, but it's so what's the word? It's just short-sighted to think you just bring in a manager. The manager's got to be part of the long-term plan. The manager can't be the long-term plan. You're giving a new manager all this responsibility. They're tearing up the team. They're throwing people out, potentially good players. Look at Zaha. Zaha's gone. Lukaku's gone over the years. Sanchez we're a bit of a failure. We're just throwing money at it, whether it's managers or players. And yeah, I'm glad Solskjaer's gone as much as he's a legend, but I'm still not hopeful on where we're going to go from here. So to bring it full circle, who I do want, I've got a 3-man list, and I've got Ten Hag at the top from Ajax. But so I'll say him. I'd take Poch and then I have a feeling Brendan Rodgers would be the dream guy for him. There's rumours of it. He's British, which seems to be for some reason a big push for Man United now. But best of British players. That's why we're buying the likes of Wan-Bissaka, and we've got Dan James at one point, which is another conversation whether that's the right direction to go in. But that's how I feel we'll go. But the other thing is, we're talking about managers and stuff and when they can come in. I feel the likes of Brendan Rodgers and Ten Hag. I don't think they would want to come in the middle of the season. It doesn't happen often unless they're available. Because, you know, they have that sort of loyalty. Like, I think they even asked Brendan Rodgers about it the other day, and he said, 1, it's disrespectful because Solskjaer's in a job. 2, I'm happy, and I'm happy, like, here this season, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of managers who are loyal, they just don't want to jump ship. Now, your argument would be, well, if you're Man United, you just pay whatever it needs to take to get the right manager, and I 100% get that. But if that manager that you want isn't willing to join now, there's 7 months, 6-7 months of the season left, and it's a really difficult decision.
You talk about a stopgap and a bit of a plaster job, what the Americans call it, sticking a plaster on it. I just think you talk about a character for 2 games and an interim till the end of the season. There seems to be like 3-4 steps before you even. It's like you knew full well, Solskjaer. You were having conversations with Liverpool when you got with Liverpool. That was like what, a month ago, 6 weeks ago. Now you should have been making plans then to think of the next potential manager. So when this moment happened, because you knew there was a chance you would. I mean, I think it's fairly obvious you want to keep Solskjaer till the end of the season and get the manager. Well, that's not materialised. So you've got to make the decision right as well. But there's got to be a plan. But then come back to it. There's no plan. There's nothing sort of thinking for what's going to happen when he goes, because he's gone. Now it's like, oh shit, what do we do? Well, we'll get Carrick to do a job for 2 man, and then we'll get Allardyce in for end of season. Do you know what I mean? It's just like okay.
You mentioned it earlier. Lewis mentioned it earlier. Forward thinking. I think it might be new Ty. Like it shows that we can all see that there's no direction that the team's going, and like I'm thinking as a Liverpool fan, when like your biggest rival sack their manager, and you're thinking who they're going to win it, who they're going to bring in, and you kind of think, oh, I'm a little bit worried. But in this instance, I'm not worried because the people that are making the decisions are the wrong people that are making the decision. Like, you look at Solskjaer, he came in and took over Mourinho, and I've got it here. They finished with 66 points in his first season. They finished 6th. In his second season, they finished 3rd with the same amount of points, 66 points. The last season, obviously, they finished 2nd. Liverpool were obviously struggling. A lot of teams were struggling last year, and they gave him a 3-year contract. Now, if you can't see like the problems that were there and then give him a contract, it's absolutely ridiculous. And if I'm looking as a non-Man United fan, I'm thinking that I want United to hire someone who wants instant gratification rather than someone who comes in and builds a project. So, for example, a Ten Hag is someone that I don't want you guys to get. To some extent, Brendan Rodgers is someone that I don't want you to get. But although I do think Brendan Rodgers is one that I think he's a very ambitious manager, and I do believe he will jump. If given the opportunity, he'll jump.
I think the Brendan Rodgers ones are really interesting because obviously there was murmurings about Solskjaer going after Liverpool Man City game, and Rodgers' name was mentioned. And I know from just some of the stuff that people have said, good sources, the way Rodgers is very sort of ambitious, and he wants to get to the top. That's what he thinks he deserves to be, and I think he's a brilliant manager as well. Leicester's results have massively dropped off. I think when the rumours started. For me, I almost think mentally he's waiting for the call. Now, I don't know if the conversation's already happened or whether he's said, wait till the end of the season and I'll do it. I don't know if that's happened, but I just feel something's going on at Leicester. And if the results continue as they are, it's easy to jump when your team's doing shit. Do you know what I mean? And I just think at the moment, Brendan Rodgers is a manager where he'd be a perfect fit for you in that. When I say perfect fit, I think he's what you need because he has a clear playing identity, playing philosophy, and it's forward and it's attacking, it's front foot, it's high press, it's playing out from the back, it's everything you want as a top modern manager. Like, let's not beat about the bush. At Liverpool, if he had Van Dijk at centre half and Alisson, we win the league. That's the reason why we didn't win the league. It's not rocket science. He was brilliant. He was good. He had everything going for him. Just going back on one other thing, and I want to ask you both this question. It's going back to Solskjaer. Now, Solskjaer's finished, and people say he's done a good job. He's brought Solskjaer. I question that massively. He spent £500 million. He's got a very unbalanced squad, and there are still a lot of average players in there. You finished 66 points. Last season I'm not having last season a season with COVID and the stuff. You've got, anyone. I know it sounds great. You finished second, brilliant. But did you really finish second? Everyone, even though they finished second, everyone sort of still knew that they're at best the 4th best team in the league. You brought in Ronaldo. That was not a decision I'd imagine he wanted. And I think if you stuck with the same team you had last year and the players you had without having to mess about and change formations, and I think you'd be better. That's hindsight. But I just want to ask both of you a question. So has he actually done a good job, or is it just the fact that he's a Man United legend, and he's bought. I heard Guy Neville say he bought some soul back into the club, and Mourinho and Van Gaal were so bad, and they were brilliant. And just one last point, I'm probably going on a bit. Mourinho and Van Gaal saying they were the best in the world. They weren't. Van Gaal finished as a manager. Mourinho was on his downward curve, so they're not. They weren't the best of the best at the time. That's just bullshit. You bought Solskjaer in. Has he done a good job, or has it just smoke being blown up his ass? Either one, you go first.
Chris, you go first.
Yeah, go on, Chris.
I think he's done the best that he could. I think they've stood still. I think they've stood still and they've spent a ridiculous amount of money that you know, if I think of any Premier League managers, could they have come in and done what Solskjaer has done? I'd say yes. Like I'm looking at the signings that he's made. We've got Bruno Fernandes, Cavani, Varane, Maguire, Diallo, Dan James, who's gone, Wan-Bissaka, Ronaldo, Sancho, Igalo, Telles, Tom Heaton, and Van der Beek. And I've highlighted 6 of those. Fernandes, unbelievable sign. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I'll give him that. I'm not going to include Cavani or Ronaldo because you can't base the future around like 37-year-old players. You know, it's not a forward-thinking strategy. You've got Varane, you've got Maguire, Benham, Wan-Bissaka again, and then Sancho and Van der Beek. Like, you know, they're all good signings at the time. When Man United was signing them, everyone would be in agreement that they were probably good signings at the time. I don't see too many Man United fans that were unhappy about that. But in reality, he's wasted a lot of money in there because I'm not too sure, other than Bruno Fernandes, who would get in those top 3 teams, maybe Varane, if, you know, staying fit. But what he has done, obviously, he's sold a lot of players and he's got rid of a lot of deadwood. That's one thing that I will say that he's got. He brought a togetherness with the through the fans with each other, but slowly but surely that turned the opposite direction. So in reality, what he's done, he's got rid of some deadwood, and I think any manager could have done that. But that's me being harsh. He's a lovely lad, but no. I think he's just said. I think he's just kept them on a plateau, and he just spent money. What about yourself, Lewis?
Yeah, I think there's two sides of this that you need to look at. So when I say he's done a good job, and I think even when Gary Neville says he's done a good job, I don't necessarily think it's regarding results, because, like you said, he's done six? Was it 6 third and they were both 66 points or something like that?
Yeah.
And then obviously last year there was an asterisk. You know what I mean? Tuchel's coming halfway through the season. If you'd given him a full season, Chelsea would have finished above us. Liverpool had barely a defence. So it's like, in regards to points and in regards to improve as a team, I think you've got to say no. I think the answer is no, like, long thing about it. Like, the answer is no. And I've had this conversation with other people who I really don't think they get it. So when Solskjaer's taken over, they always ask me, like, what would you see as a good season or a successful season? So whenever he's taken over, say he's finishing 6th, and they're saying, if you finish 4th, does that count as a good season? And I always say, like, obviously, if he took over at Man United and was very low after Mourinho, if he has 3 or 4 years, he's got to gradually improve the team to a point where after this 3-4 years, he can challenge. But that doesn't mean you've just gone from 6th to 4th to 3rd to 1st. I want to see 10 points added every season. And they were saying, all right, then, so say you finished 6th one season. Would you be happy if you'd have finished 4th the season after, but you'd had 10 points? Or would you rather finish 2nd, but with the same points? Mm-hmm. And I said, for the long-term plan, I want 10 points. If that's going to be like a trajectory, do you know what I mean? Season by season, you're going to get there. I'm not bothered about, like, finishing 2nd was a nothing thing. It's good to banter about. But unless you're finishing 1st, you want to be improving on your points base. And unless you're doing that year in, year out, you're just going to stagnate. And yeah, you might, one season, you might finish 2nd like we did, and it might look good on paper. But there's a reason why you finished 2nd. And it wasn't necessarily because we were so great. And look how far off Man City we were.
Yeah.
So I think that just papers over the cracks. But what he has done, and what I will give him credit for, is, like, getting rid of the deadwood. And that was part, I mentioned the 10-point plan. That was one of the things. One, get rid of the deadwood. There was a hell of a lot of mercenaries there, and they managed to get rid of them. I think one of the biggest things he did, and I don't know how he did it, and it doesn't actually get talked about, is how we got rid of Alexis Sanchez. You remember the money that he was on, and it was a total flop. And I just thought, because Man United have had this bad thing recently where we're just destroying the wage budget. We're putting, like, we're putting average performers on 300, 400 grand a week. And then that naturally just brings everyone else who's behind them up. And then you're going to get to a position where you can only offer people more than that. Whereas you look at somewhere like Liverpool, and they're talking about what should Salah have now. Salah wants half a mil. And Liverpool don't want to give him it. But it's not that they don't think he's worth it. It's not that they don't think he deserves it. It's because they've got a structure. There's a long-term plan. And credit to Solskjaer, he's managed to get rid of the likes of Sanchez, which was just, I don't know how he managed to do that. And Inter was stupid enough to take him off his hands. But yeah, he's done that. He's brought players in, whether they're good or not, that actually want to play for the club. Do you know what I mean? There's a bit of a feel-good factor now. The results in regards to silverware haven't been there, which I suppose is the thing that matters at the end of the season. But I'll give him credit for that, not necessarily for performances and that upward trajectory that you'd want to see.
Just a question, just linked to that as well. I've been thinking about it whilst both of you have been talking. Do either of you know what Solskjaer's playing philosophy is? 3-4 years down the line,
No.
anyone got a clue?
I'll accompany that with where does he actually go next? Like, you know, I feel really sorry for the guy, because in reality, I don't think he's going to get another opportunity in the Premier League anytime soon. He was just living off his relationship with the club, and you know, not wanting to park in Sir Alex's parking space. You know, he's just too nice. He had too many mates in the team. You know, he's calling them all by the nicknames. There wasn't that detachment. You know, even with the media. You know, the pundits killed him. His mates as pundits killed him. Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville. You know, Rio Ole out the wheel. You know, give him the contract, give him what he wants. He just set him up for a fall. And now you've got all the fans singing Ole out the wheel. Every single Premier League ground, Ole out the wheel. They absolutely nailed him and crucified him. And I feel really sorry for him, because he looks like a nice guy. I mean, which manager does a video to say I'm leaving? You know what I mean? I'm leaving. I'm going to leave with my head held high. And I think it was a good idea to do that. But in reality, I'd have been like, you know, you well set me up to fail. And, you know, I just feel sorry for him. But to answer your question, Ty, I have no clue. I have no idea what his formations were. He was going. I think he was on the right. He was on the right track with a 3-5-2 at one point. But I think that was just a fluke as well.
Do you know? Just to talk about that, if anyone's done coaching, so you know, I've done it. You have one of the first things they say, "What's your playing philosophy?" You win your philosophy. It might change, you know, as you grow and as you move on to different teams and clubs. And it's the question is always like, do you base your philosophy on what you want to do? You stick with what you want to do, or the players you've got. Now, obviously, when you get to the elite level, you can have whatever you want. So that's kind of an element. You have your idea of playing and away you go. You can, any of the sort of top half Premier League teams, you look at the managers that come in and you look at the teams that they play, you know the way. Within a month or two, you'll know the way the style they play. Thomas Tuchel, we had the same conversation. Thomas Tuchel, within a month, we know what he's playing. He's going to play 3-5-2, 3-4-3, really high full backs. He's playing 3-4-3, he'll have 2 10s, and he'll have his 2 midfields, and he's got the back 3 that's really compact and solid. So it wasn't anything rocket science, but they'll be playing aggressive football, defensively sound. I mean, look at the record anyway. Pep Guardiola's been the same, whichever team he's been at. I mean, granted, he's been at the best team, whichever country he's gone to. Well, it's the same way, possession based, playing out from the back, high pressing. Klopp, again, same, a bit more direct, but essentially the same. And then you go down, Brendan Rodgers again, you know, expansive forward playing, you know, playing out from the back, that sort of thing, high pressing again. There's an identity, you know, the way he's going to play, his team's going to play. But seriously, 4 years, I've got no fucking idea what Solskjaer does. It's just like, we'll go with the old 4-2-3, we'll stick Pogba at left, because that seems to work at the moment. We've got Ronaldo now, we better change. He can't play up front of his own, we need 2 up there. But we better start high pressing, because everyone on BT Sports, I think it's the high press. You know, what we're going to do, should we play Luke Shaw left back or left side of the back 3? Or we'll go with Henderson, no, we'll go with David De Gea. It was just an absolute, you know, shit show. But
if BT Sports,
he has genuinely been. I do not know a luckier manager over the last few years, over the last decade, I'd say. And he's had players jump in and save his ass. Bruno Fernandes last season and Ronaldo this season to an extent with his last minute goals in the Champions League, because they'd be out of the Champions League now. You know, if they've sort of, you know, if you went with the XG data, which is, I don't go by stats, but that's like a really bang on data, that, and it's right and it's normally spot on. But yeah, so just, but no, I don't have a clue. Go on, Lewis, you go.
No, Scooby, mate. It honestly feels like you hit the nail on the head there. Is Luke Shaw playing in the back 3? We're playing him left back. Pogba, we don't really trust him in the 2. Let's put him on the left wing because it's worked well. Then Pogba will have a bad game, and then it's like, we'll put Rashford in now. It honestly feels like we go out for the most part 4-2-3-1, but I don't. It's not like 4-2-3-1. We're going to play with narrow wide men. It's like this is just the formation on paper go out there and go win a match. That's honestly what it feels like. You hope that Bruno's going to step up, and for the most part, he has stepped up, and he's got out of a lot of shit. He's won his matches, he's crossed to Ronaldo this season, that sort of stuff. But there's just no. It just seems like there's no structure, no plan. Like like Ty said, every manager. I'm a manager myself. We've got our own philosophy of the way we want to play. There's plenty of ways to skin the cat. You can control a game with the ball. You can control a game without the ball. Look at Chelsea. You can control a game like Liverpool do, where they'll swarm you. Look at Arsenal. Look at the Arsenal. I mean, result aside from yesterday, the run they've been on it has been exceptional. But they've been playing really good football, and Arteta's been trying to play that way since he's come in. Now, sometimes out of the players, sometimes the players have let him down, but he's stuck to his philosophy. And now it seems like they're reaping the benefit of that. But we don't play on the break. We don't try to dominate the ball. We don't go press. We're not compact. It's just like, that's why every game seems open. But the thing with Man United over the past few years is we've had Bruno, we've had Rashford, we've had Cristiano. We've got players who can step up and win us a match. But there's no longevity in that. That will win you matches, but that will never win you titles or silverware. Yeah. You can't sustain that. It's unsustainable. But that's what I mean. That's why you need to bring a sporting director in. But regardless, the manager's got to come in who's got a philosophy, and he needs every player to read off that hymn book. And I just want to see somebody come in, like even Brendan, like he's got a philosophy. And whether it works with the players we've got, I just want to see it. I want us to know what we're doing. Like, you remember the capitulation against Liverpool when we went to 5 at the back, and did we go 5? No, was it 5 at the back or not? But Wan-Bissaka just broke rank, tried to press Robertson. It was about 30 yards off, and it was just like a simple 1-2 around him. And he got away with it in the first couple of times, first 10 minutes. And after that, the third time, it was like, I could see that coming. So have we worked on that in training? Is that Wan-Bissaka just thinking, I'm going to be aggressive today? But you can't just have one person pressing and nobody else. And I just want to see somebody with some direction and some game plan. I say this all the time, but like when you see a team, whether it's Liverpool, remember Trent scored that free kick routine where it was a little pop to the side. I think it was against Chelsea, and he stuck it in the bins.
Was it West Ham? I think it might be West Ham. West Ham.
Might be West Ham, yeah. I hadn't seen a set piece routine for Man United for about 10 years. Something that's just come off the training ground, whether it's worked or not. It's just what I just honestly don't know.
I remember
I'll tell you what they do at training. They just watch reruns of '99 Champions League final, don't they?
Yeah.
Like if you think about
Solskjaer, like, this is what you do when a corner comes in the last minute. It's all about those players. Just believe in Fergie.
I was thinking, like, the Klopp interviews and Guardiola interviews, when they say to them, where did it go wrong today?
Yes.
And they'll give you every little intricate detail. They'll tell you, like, that they were finding the pockets, we were struggling out wide, there was an overload or something like that. I never once heard an interview with Solskjaer where it was something along those lines. It was always about, they wanted it more, it was desire, the lads were a bit tired, or it was never anything tactical, and that's obviously where he goes wrong. Just obviously in closing, we're going to be on shortly. I just want you to tell me your best memory under Ole as time at United.
Great question. I think the biggest high that everybody will remember was the PSG game, where obviously Rashford last minute penalty, massive high. I don't know if we went on the run from then or whether that's after. I think that was after that was a Rio comment, wasn't it? I think that was the PSG game.
That was the Rio
contract. Yeah, I think that was probably his biggest high. But then again, it was like that wasn't a dominant performance. We were the worst team for it. But it was moments big players stepped up. We've got a fairly fortunate penalty, very fortunate, you'd even say. But we took it. But it's just, that's what I mean. That's the highs. But we didn't, like, people talk about that PSG game, but we didn't go on and win Champions League. We didn't get to the final. I think we went out the next round, but we live off that high. But I think that was a high because obviously it's not 1-0. Weirdly enough, he's had, like, I think he had a better record versus Pep, didn't he, over the 4 years?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, which is fascinating because it's even when you watch, I mean, there was a couple of games where we were better and we punished them heavily, but those games we were battered for 70 minutes, and we've got players who can play on the break and who took the chances. So there were moments like that where they felt good, and the little results here and there. But yeah, I'd definitely say that for me, probably the PSG were the highest. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a story about that. With my girlfriend at the time, and we watched it in her house, and she had a candle on. She's a Man United fan, there were a candle on. And I was watching it on a stream because I don't think I had BT. And as soon as we'd won the penalty, or the ref, I think the ref gave the decision, or he went to VAR, but there was about a 3-minute break where they reviewed, and it started buffering. And I had it on my laptop, and I was like, "Oh no, come on, please, come on!" And then literally the buffering stopped right as he run up. I think I had a cushion. I think I was squeezing the cushion out of nerves and everything like that. Obviously, Rashford buried it, and I just launched it, and it hit the candle, and the wax splattered up the wall. And obviously, it sets instantly. And my girlfriend at the time was fuming, absolutely fuming, and I was like, I just didn't care. I absolutely didn't care. But that was
so you'll forever have that memory just seared onto the wall.
Yeah, that was Ole's high. Right, I know we're wrapping it up. I've got a question.
No. Ty. I want to ask you your best memory of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer next time. I think it might be the same as mine.
Were it 3 weeks ago or something like that? About 4 weeks ago.
I've got so many highs with him, but I'd say the ones where it was his interviews, do you know, like how he kept reverting and looking back to history, and with the rear view mirror on, and just sort of living in a world where it almost felt to me like he was a fan doing, getting the best job in the world. And that's how it always felt. Yeah, that is how it felt. But I don't have any, I mean, the 5-0 one, you could see it coming, because there's a huge difference between teams, they're very unbalanced, and it wasn't a surprise. I mean, it's not a high that for me. For me, I'd say the high was when they got beat in the final. Europa League was So Ole coming back after that. So yeah, just in. I mean, it's where I'm sad he's gone. I really am. I don't finish on. I know you've asked me for my high, but I'm sad he's gone because he certainly gave his entertainment, didn't he?
Yeah, we don't need to sell a lot.
What's yours? What's yours?
When we smashed them 5-0.
I've got a question. I've got a question as well. We sort of touched on it earlier for both of you. Who, manager-wise, who would you not want to see him bring in, and who would you like to see him bring in?
I'd like them to bring in Zidane because I don't think he's very long-term. I wouldn't like you to bring in Brendan Rodgers because I think he's a very long-term manager, and he's proved he could get unbelievably close to the title with the money that he'll have at Man United, and the players that he's got as well. I think he would be, for me, if I was them, I would be doing everything, and I'd be getting him now. I'll be like going to Leicester, pay the compensation. I'd be like, it'd come. Any manager comes, apart from the top three, any manager goes now. I'd be like, yeah, all over it. I think you missed the boat with Antonio Conte, obviously. But I think the manager I think Zidane, I'm thinking again, I don't think he's very long-term, and I think it worked well with Real Madrid because of the whole, I think it might be his wife doesn't, I mean, there's rumours that his wife doesn't like Manchester. The good thing about Zidane, if he did go for you guys, was he would be able to manage the egos. That's your biggest issue, I think, at the moment as well, because you've got quite a few. I mean, the games that you were getting beat and stuff wasn't going right for you, there was stuff I saw as a fan, and as a manager, you would both pick it up, and any fan would pick it up, is when they're losing, players are throwing, Fernandes were a massive culprit, and Ronaldo throwing their arms up in the air and sulking, and that just, the body language was so bad. Now, I think you need someone to manage those egos. I think Zidane's obviously, one of the best players of all time, so he'd have that instant respect anyway, and he's won Champions League titles and league titles. But I just don't think he's long-term the way Man United. I think Brendan Rodgers, you can give him a 5-year contract and say, right, this is what we want from you. We want to win. We want to be challenging. We want to be winning the title within 5 years. That's your remit. And I think he'd probably do it for you as well, because he would actually look, and you look at everywhere he's done a brilliant job. He hasn't done a shit job anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He was unbelievably unlucky at Liverpool. It was just the way, he lost top players. You lose Suarez, Sterling, all these Coutinho, Coutinho was obviously still there, but you lose top players, and The issue was we needed to spend the Van Dijk sort of money, but that didn't come until Coutinho went. So I think circumstances, didn't work themselves out. But even then, now he's still competitive against the team. Take yesterday's result out. I think Rodgers, Ten Hag is a name I've seen branded about. I mean, he's managing the Dutch league. I don't know how much weight that's going to hold. He could quite easily come in 8 months down the line, be shit, and get binned off. You do need someone who knows the league really well. You can't have another year of working out if someone can work in the league. The reason I said Antonio Conte is very much a hard master, but he knows the league. He's won a league title here. He's just a winner. He will ruffle so many feathers, but he's a winner. He's what I'd call the new Mourinho. Do you know Mourinho was in the early 2000s? Mourinho's finished his day. He does not up with it. Conte is that now. He'll turn Spurs. Spurs will finish probably in the top 4 now. I think they're probably nudge ahead here. You watch them in a 3 years' time, they'll be challenging for the title. He'll get rid of that sort of Spursy nonsense away from him, and they'll get their shit in order because he's a top manager. And they've got a sporting director. Patriarchi's coming on, and you talk about that. They're getting their stuff right as well. So sorry, long-winded way to say Brendan Rodgers, and probably who I'd like to have would be Zidane or Ten Hag, I'd say, because those exotic names don't always work out.
Yeah, you said everything pretty much. No, I agree with Zidane. Like, out of the realistic targets, Zidane, I would want him to be manager just because, again, you don't know how he's going to come into this team. He went into a Real Madrid team, which was quality, and obviously he done ridiculous things while he was there, so he can't be like a bad manager. But I just think he's a short-term stopgap. He's just going to do a couple of years and then he's just going to spawn off. Again, I know Man United fans don't think it's a sexy name, but Brendan Rodgers is the one that I don't want us to have the most. But if he doesn't go, Ten Hag, I know he's really the only one that's been mentioned other than Pochettino. The only thing that I have with him is he's been around that Ajax setup where they have a philosophy where they build from the youth setup. They build the foundations. And I don't want a manager to come in and restructure the whole club and then start playing at the same, the same formations at the junior levels and everything like that, where they have everything set up, kind of like the La Masia at Barcelona. So I wouldn't want someone who's going to benefit you 20 years down the line. So, Ten Hag might be another one, but like Ty says, you never know with these managers whether they've got what it's they're cut out for it, basically. Yeah.
We don't. I don't normally come in and correct my co-host, but I've got a few just to let you know the way it works in elite professional game. Whenever the first team manager comes in, he'll have a philosophy, whatever that might be, he'll have a philosophy, and that gets filtered down through the academy. I've got quite a few mates.
Oh, absolutely. But you think Solskjaer is bothered?
No, he's not. No, that's what I mean. So if whatever they'll have ways of playing. Whatever your style is. So it does get filtered through, but again, and I completely get it to what extent that is and how bothered you are. Would your first team manager go down and watch the under 12s? I don't know. How Solskjaer, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? You're looking at, and I'd imagine Ten Hag is a manager that would absolutely do that.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Embedded in it, yeah.
He'd be hands-on, very hands-on. I think he would be with the academy setup and everything like that, because that's really the only way forward. For my opinion, anyway.
Just before we finish, and it's a question that I've just literally come to me. And I think I'd be interested in both your thoughts. Is Alex Ferguson a problem still being at Man United now?
No, I don't think so. But I think it takes a manager to come in with his own, like I said, his own philosophy, his own way of thinking, not bothered about the quote-unquote Man United way and traditions, to come in and just say, look, I'm taking over. The way Klopp did. Klopp taught everything up, do you know what I mean? He said, right, this is how I'm going to do it. I think Solskjaer, with Solskjaer being in charge for the past 4 years, because of his lack of real pedigree, it's almost like he's fallen back on Ferguson.
Let me just rephrase that. What I mean by that is your problem, as in who he chose. David Moyes was his choice. Solskjaer was his choice. I don't know how much Van Gaal and Mourinho were his choice, but he's got a big influence now. I'd imagine he'll have a big say on who they go in next. I'd imagine Carrick and Fletcher being asked as interim, he's got a part to play in that as well. I think, is it healthy for him to continually be involved? And I don't know the answer. I'm just putting it out there. That's probably more more my question as opposed to, is he bad for the club as an ambassador or anything? Which obviously, I mean, he's a director, and so he's obviously not negative in that way, just in terms of sort of influencing who gets picked next.
Was he the one who pulled Solskjaer's name out the hat? Was he the one who suggested Solskjaer?
I think he had some influence on it, didn't he? I don't know. He's obviously, and he's got he would have sway on that. I mean, they wanted him as a stopgap. They wanted an interim manager, and they said, "Well, who can we get?" And Solskjaer's obviously come along. I don't know.
Because Solskjaer's name came out of nowhere. Nobody even mentioned it.
But he wasn't. Was he at Mulder? He was at Mulder at the time, wasn't he? So they got him from they had to pay a bit, and obviously, he's not going to say no. He's like, "Come help us out," sort of thing. So maybe I don't know. I just think, looking in, it feels like he's still got some influence, and there's that bit about the old Man United way. And the old Man United, I don't get the old Man United way was 4-4-2 with two wingers. Try playing that now in modern football, you get absolutely destroyed. I don't get
Burnley.
it.
I think Burnley, the only team who play 4-4-2.
Well, they're not even and they play 4-4-2, but the wingers are quite narrow. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember Beckham and Giggs, getting rained out. It was just like the game was completely different. You cannot compare 1995 football to 2021. If you play the same way now, you'd never get the ball.
I'm not sure he's a problem. It's kind of like Kenny being in the background with us. I don't think he initially chose Moyes. That was a problem. Solskjaer, I don't believe that he wouldn't have had an influence on that. I absolutely believe that it was his decision, to put him forward for it. But at the end of the day, they've got no one making the big decisions. Mourinho wasn't his decision, in my opinion. Van Gaal wasn't his opinion, in my opinion. If they'd have brought in a manager that had an instant impact, I don't think he would have any influence over it. I think it's just because they haven't had a manager that's came in and kind of stamped their authority on the results on the pitch more than anything else. I think as far as problems go, I think Ronaldo might be more of a problem for the next manager than what Fergie is.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, lovely. I think that wraps it up. But as always, we have got a question of the day. But today's question is, I think it asks itself, doesn't it? It's like, who do you want next? I'd imagine you're watching this as a Man United fan. Who do you want to be Man United's next manager? And if you're not a Man United fan, let us know who you don't want to be as manager. Let us know. As always, we do sort of, reply to your comments. We had the Rangers one, mentioned it before. We had loads of comments, and my phone kept popping, so I had to keep replying to them. Keep coming in, and we will reply to them. And as always, we say, if you've got this far, I don't know how long, because we went for about 45 minutes or so. If you've listened to us this far, you've got to like what we're talking about. Click that like button, subscribe, share it with your family, make us famous, and we will remember you. But yeah, just all that's left to say is thanks, Lewis, for joining us again. I hope you've enjoyed it, because I know it gives you an opportunity to vent. How's it wrong for you?
I needed it, thanks.
Oh, good one.
No, I just want to say sorry to all non-Man United fans. Don't be sad that he's gone. Just smile that he was here.
Yeah. Right, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.
See you later, guys.